I never got questioned on the fact that I was, for instance, speaking English and just behaving as a regular citizen. In Quebec, I got that question a lot. Like, oh, you speak really good English, or you speak really good French. And I'm like, so do you. And I just found myself having to navigate the question of identity more explicitly in Quebec. And that's when that started coming to the forefront in my awareness, my racial awareness, and subsequently political awareness. And what was the interesting thing was, at each screening, I've seen the film like 50 times plus, so I didn't watch the film, but after, I would animate the discussion after each screening, and at each screening there would be somebody or several people who would come up and say, I recognize myself, I've never seen this before. Other role models that I had before in the Chinese community were chiropractors, or they were doctors, or they were lawyers, and I don't see progressive people from the Chinese community. I don't see journalists, I don't see people involved in politics, I don't see people who are involved in social justice organizing. So like, I want to keep in touch with you.
When we were shooting the film especially, it felt very ephemeral or intangible. What is Chinese identity in Quebec? You know, what is this thing? And now I think if we were to remake it, there are some more concrete things we could hinge the film upon. So of course we would have covered mobilizing for the big demonstration in March 2021. We would definitely cover the incredible work of Chinatown activists that's been happening, particularly in the past 2 years.
I was younger, I was more foolish, I was more ignorant, okay? A lot of the things like internalized racism, some of the things that we feel, we can't put our finger on it, we can't name it, but we know we're living it, or maybe we're doing something that's not quite right, and I wasn't really aware of what that was at that time. I feel like I was just trying to find my footing in the film, and it shows a little bit. So I feel like I'm on surer footing now, or maybe I care less about what people think. So I just say what's on my mind, and I'm more confrontational now.
I think because our researcher is a native Cantonese speaker, which is my first language, which I lost due to internalized racism. And being able to spend, especially the longer portion of our shoot, which is about, I think, 10 days, speaking so much Cantonese and it coming back and flooding my body with so many positive emotions of reconnecting. I think that now when I reflect, I think it was also a jumping off point of the comfort that I felt in being surrounded by people who had a more similar cultural background. I think I, well into my 20s, denied that to myself. And through the shoot, through talking so much about Chinese identity and Chinese histories, and then certainly the activist orientations that came afterwards with Progressive Chinese at Quebec, from which came Chinatown Working Group, and then having that first, I guess, touchstone of this feels right.
I'm fourth generation, so I have a much more difficult time with the language and facing the language, in terms of like reconciling with the break that that I had with the language, and that my previous generations had with the language to survive. But that's one of the myths, right, that I was talking about, model minority, that you have to work twice as hard to get to the same place, right? That shouldn't be. That's what I call the myth of resilience, because we use this word a lot when we talk about immigrant cultures. Oh, we were really resilient. It's great. And you like got through all these challenges, and I think that's it has a positive side, but it's also dangerous, because it perpetuates this idea that we have to work so hard just to survive in a society where actually we should be, instead of intentionally thriving in this society.